someone who the world of politics is going to get to know well in the coming months and coming years, I think, is Ted Cruz, who was who won an upset bid to win the Republican nomination for the Senate seat being vacated by Bailey Hutchison in Texas, and seems like he's being called a shoo-in to win the general election against the Democrat Schaefer, I believe is his name, coming up in November. So Ted Cruz, who's a very accomplished guy, like a Princeton debate champion, and the New York Times ran a glowing piece about how he's the intellectual voice of the Tea Party. Mm-hmm. He's argued in front of the Supreme Court. I think, did I read 80 times? Can that possibly be true?
Wow.
He was the Solicitor General of Texas, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. The guy's clearly, he's a debate champion. He's good in front of judges, good in court.
By the way, if he was a staunch liberal, Rush Limbaugh, et cetera, would have already done a story about how he must have gotten into Princeton because of affirmative action.
Of course, right.
As they did with Sotomayor, as they did with Barack Obama, et cetera.
So
but he's on their side, so he's a genius.
He's the intellectual voice of the Tea Party. So he went on the Glenn Beck show to talk about, this is such a great, we don't get Glenn Beck every day now, but it reminds you of the good old days where Glenn Beck was just gave and gave and gave. Glenn Beck talks about Agenda 21. Do you know about Agenda 21?
Well, of course, I'm part of the agenda.
So I'm reading here from Mother Jones. Believes that the United States sovereignty, this is what Ted Cruz and Glenn Beck believe, that U.S. sovereignty, and they don't talk so much about sovereignty anymore. Mm-hmm. Remember, that was a big thing.
Yeah,
right
after
when Obama
Bush blew the sovereignty quote.
Right.
They're like, okay, let's move off that.
So anyways, the U.S.'s sovereignty is under assault from UN agreement Agenda 21.
Obviously.
Agenda 21.
Why do you think I helped them pass it?
Doesn't have the force of law, of course. You know why? Because it's a United Nations resolution. Right. So UN Agenda 21 doesn't have the force of law. Right-wingers believe the treaty's sustainable development precepts will force Americans to live in Hobbit homes.
Force them into Hobbit homes.
Hobbit homes.
No, these people are lunatics. This
Right.
guy is likely to be the next senator from Texas.
Right. He believes that it will force Americans to live in little Hobbit homes. And because I guess what they think is that it will destroy large homes because they are environmentally sound. So they will shut them down and we'll all have to live in Hobbit homes. And then we'll relocate residents from rural areas into densely populated urban cores. Mm-hmm. Everybody from the suburbs, we're going back because this is apparently the plan we're going to reinvigorate American cities. Politicians of all stripes have essentially ignored American cities for 50 years now. They're coming back.
Yeah.
Agenda 21. The cities are coming back, so everybody's going to get moved into urban cores and live in their Hobbit homes. Glenn Beck says Agenda 21 sounds like absolute crazy conspiracy theory nut stuff, but it's not.
No, of course not.
Here's what Ted Cruz writes about it on his website. The originator of this grand scheme is, take a guess.
The Jews. No.
That's good. That's totally good.
In a previous time, that's what conservatives would have said.
What
now,
does he say? Who's the originator of this grand scheme? It's a person.
George Soros.
The originator of this grand scheme is George Soros, says Ted Cruz.
So I actually wasn't that far off.
No. Who candidly supports socialism and believes that global development must progress through eliminating national sovereignty and private property. That's what George Soros, who's collected his giant wealth, believes.
I believe there's a 94% chance that if you ask George Soros, what's Agenda 21, he would say, what
are you talking about?
Right. As I would have said this morning, I had no idea what the hell Agenda 21 was.
Oh, he's given millions to the project, says Cruz, but he's not the only one promoting the plan. The International Council of Local Environmental Initiatives, ICLEI, now consists of 600 cities in the United States. Agenda 21 attempts to abolish unsustainable environments.
Abolish.
Including golf courses.
Oh, you don't want to go after their golf courses.
So, as Ted Cruz believes that George Soros is trying to eliminate golf. Golf courses, grazing pastures, and paved roads. Mm-hmm. No, Agenda 21, no paved roads. It hopes to leave
You think hobbits need paved roads? No, they walk on dirt roads.
It hopes to leave Mother Earth's surface unscratched by mankind. Everyone wants clean water and clean air, but Agenda 21 dehumanizes individuals by removing the very thing that has defined Americans since the beginning: freedom.
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 Of course. They're going to take it away. All right, look, let's break this down. So, first of all, is it possible that this Agenda 21 says, hey, we should live a little bit more environmentally consciously? Of course. Yeah, I'm sure that's what it says, right? Does it mandate that anybody do anything like demolish your home? Of course not. Take away paved roads.
Golf courses?
Yeah, mandates it. And how in the world would they have jurisdiction to do that here in the United States? No, this is insanity.
Do you think that might be an electoral loser, taking everyone from suburban areas and forcing them to live in Hobbit homes in the big cities?
Yeah, I'd love to see the politician that comes, oh, by the way, we're going to destroy all of your homes. Except that through the banks, they do ironically kind of do that, right? Yeah. So it's just, we've lost all sense of reality in this country. Look, if I was running against Ted Cruz in Texas, here's what I would do. I would make a Hobbit ad. And I'd put pointy ears on him, right? And I'd put hairy feet, and I'd put him next to a Hobbit home and say, "This lunatic believes in this conspiracy theory about Agenda 21 and Hobbit homes. Would you like to elect someone sane or someone that belongs in an insane asylum to the Senate?" And I would run that ad. Well, let's say if you're going to do about 20 ads in a campaign, 20 different ones, I'd run it 18 times.
That would be your dominant. I think if that happened, that Ted Cruz would only get like 56% of the vote.
No, but seriously, is he mentally sound? Right? I would pound away at what a crazy fringe lunatic this guy is until I think I can get 51% of Texas to go, well, lunatic's a bit much.